This is the DNA Pest Control Podcast with your hosts, Daniel and Anthony.
How's it going, everybody? All right. Man, it's been a little bit. I hope everyone's doing good. I hope everyone's staying safe, being smart out there. We don't want anyone getting sick, especially being a technician. We are crucial right now in these times. You'd be surprised, actually, at how busy we've been with everything and how not a lot has actually changed other than a few things that we've tweaked personally. But other than that, everything's been pretty good, pretty solid. First is if you haven't ever listened before and you're just jumping on, this is the first time. My name is Daniel. We usually do a podcast with Anthony. Unfortunately, he is not here this morning. Hopefully we'll get him back on so you guys can get his inspiring ideas and takes on what's going on in these current situations today. But I just wanted to get everybody up to date in the pest control world with the current events, just so everyone knows that the PPP just got passed. If you're a technician, you might not really know what that is. If you're a business owner, you need to know what that is. That essentially is a loan to help with paychecks, so you can keep your guys going full board, not just, if you are cutting back, you don't have to cut back. So that was actually just passed on 4/24. It's probably out of money already. That's just what happens. The first one was, it was some 300 billion, and it went in 4 days, and they said this one was going to go in 2. So it's probably already gone. The other thing is everyone's going crazy over disinfectant services. If you're a technician out there and you've had this come up in your company, I say jump on it. Do not let this one go by. You probably will make a lot of money. So jump on it as soon as possible if your company is doing it. In California, guys, if you do not have a QAL license with category A, K, and G, I think it is. I could be wrong on that last one. I do know A and K. You cannot do a disinfectant service, so be very careful out there and make sure you have a contract and agreement and it has the right words. Cleaning services are different than sanitation services. Sanitation services are different from disinfectant services. Do your research. Make sure you know what is going on and what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. It is very crucial. But moving on to more important things, it is warming up here in California. It is hot. Even today, I came into the office early, about 6:45, and it was hot, man. So I had to turn on the AC. So with that comes bugs, which is really awesome. And what we've actually already started getting jobs on are cockroaches. Cockroaches are taking off right now. It's nice and warm. It's perfect temperature. They are in the sweet spot where they can explode in population. And I wanted to talk today about how to treat for roaches properly. Because I went through the curve of not knowing how to treat for roaches and not knowing where to look and not knowing what to do. And I created a lot of callbacks for myself. And it gets frustrating when you're going back. There's an apartment complex that we have to go back to. And it is now getting frustrating that we have to keep going back to this place when we should have done the proper job the first time. Now, it is not the technician's fault. I'm actually taking part responsibility on this because I did not do the correct inspection on this place, which was completely my fault. I should have. I thought about it. I just didn't do it. And so learn from my mistakes, guys. Do the proper inspection, and I'm going to teach you how and what to do and where to look. Now, if you do this correctly, you will not have problems with outdoor roaches. Now, our outdoor roaches, a couple years ago, we were having issues with oriental cockroaches. A lot of people know them as water bugs. because they're in or close to a lot of moisture. That's where they thrive. We then had a hostile takeover from Turkestan roaches. Heard a lot of different things about Turkestan roaches. I don't know if it's actually true or not. One person happened to say they came over on a shipping container from another country. They opened it up. Boom, Turkestan roaches. They got in to California that way. Sacramento here, we actually have some shipping containers coming all the way up the river. I don't know how often that actually is anymore, just because I don't think they need to. But it still might happen. I'm not in that business, so I wouldn't know. But they said that that's what happened here. They got dropped off essentially in Sacramento or in the Bay Area. And then, boom, Turkestan roaches started taking over. Now, the Turkestan roach is kind of interesting because a lot of technicians do not know how to actually identify what the Turkestan roach is, or really actually see the distinct difference. So I actually have a picture from about 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought they had Turkestan roach or Oriental roaches. Well, they actually did not have Oriental roaches. They had Turkestan roaches in this area. So I didn't even know that the Turkestan roach was already here that long ago. So even some people who say they just happened to get here, they actually might have had more time here than we actually think. So, so the Oriental roach essentially is jet black, oval shape, 1.5 inches long, 2 inches max, right? Now, the American roach is a reddish, brownish color, same, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, but they're more slender. Now, the Turkestan roach literally looks like the Oriental roach and the American roach started having babies. Now, not because they're mixed together, but because the females are literally the jet black. Other than on the shoulders, there's these little tan lines on each side of the slant. The American roach, or the male Turkestan roach, looks exactly like American roach. Now, they are smaller than the American roach when you do put them side by side and compare, but they look very, very similar, where a lot of people actually get confused because it's a lot more rare than I think people actually realize, that the American roach is not going to be coming out of the sewers and infesting a home, where the Turkestan roach will. They are going to be more inside homes, around homes, things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows. And sorry if you're hearing my nose a lot. I do actually, allergies just hit me super bad. So it is allergy season here. So just bear with me. And no, I do not have the coronavirus, okay? So just a little biology on them so you guys know. So the Turkestan roach, Oriental roach, they're going to be in high moisture areas. Wherever there's more moisture, wherever there's more decaying plants, dead bark, bark gardens, rock gardens even, where there's a tree that has a lot of leaves on the ground, you're going to find a lot more roaches in those areas than you will in other areas, because that's where all the moisture is. That's where they can thrive. Now, their life cycle is a lot longer than, per se, an indoor roach or a German roach. And so they have 90 days before they actually have their eggs hatch. That's about the median. I think it can still range, obviously, based off of a temperature. There's never an exact day where, something's going to hatch or it's going, so it's around 90 days, I tell people. But they also detach their egg sac. So when they detach their egg sac, it's on a hard surface underneath cement, wood, whatever. So you have to be careful, or you have to be observant on where there's cement, where they could actually detach these egg sacs. Now, some cases they will actually detach them just in the moisture area. So when you're doing an inspection around a house, trying to figure out where are these things coming from, you're going to have to move some stuff around. You're going to have to see where there's high moisture. Do your research. Hit the cracks and crevices. How deep are those cracks and crevices? I'd even spray them. spray them and see if anything starts coming out, because that's going to give you an idea. They're probably living inside there. Now, one house that I treated, I went around and I hit all the water boxes. So here in California, I don't know how other states do it. I know Utah does it like this. We have a sprinkler box, or here there's a water box, or even sewer lines that are coming right out of the driveways. They're just little metal discs. The other ones are green, rectangle or even circular. So you are going to pop up every single one that you can. Now, some of them are going to be phone lines and other things that actually have bolts and screws and things like that you're not going to be able to pop up. And I don't suggest popping those ones up. I don't know what's in there. I don't know if it could hurt you. I just don't do it, okay? Some people, if you're experienced in that type of work and you know exactly what's in those, go right ahead. I'm not going to do that. I'll spray around it. I'll even use a bait. So when I spray, I'm using Essentia and Bifin. In the past episodes, I've talked about those two products. One kills really fast. The other one lasts a lot longer. The other product I use is Nyban. Nyban's really great. From the manufacturer, they do say even if it does get wet, it's okay. I've heard if it gets wet, it's pretty much ineffective at that point. They say otherwise. But I sprinkle that around there as well, because now I'm giving them food that's going to kill them. Nyban works great against these guys, because you're giving them a lot of food and they're going to eat it up. And so you're going to kill out masses of them, where a pesticide isn't necessarily going to get in contact with them or even kill them, because you don't even know if they're going to even walk in it or where they are. If they're underneath cement slabs, you don't know if they're ever even going to come out of there. They might be set with food and everything else they need. So keep that in mind when you are in those situations, that you need to be able to treat where where they are the best way possible. Now, if you're providing them food, more likely they might go out and eat it. Or eat each other, that hopefully one was poisoned and then they can die. But the main thing is, when you're doing your inspection, is looking for that moisture and looking for those areas. So obviously I talked about the boxes that you can't open up and you can't treat inside. The ones that you can, you're going to pop those up. Now, there was one home that I did this. There was 2 of these boxes on the front yard. I sprayed both of them. It was Armageddon. It was zombies everywhere. I mean, these roaches were everywhere. They were climbing up the walls of the house. The lady was freaking out. I felt super bad. There was not much I could do. But after that, they didn't have anything. Gone. 100%. I tore up their habitat. They didn't have anywhere to go anymore. I hit all the cracks and crevices that they were hiding. I soaked them. And so you got to realize, when you're doing those, you're making sure that you're hitting all those areas. Now, in the bad example of the apartment complex that we have to go back out to, we didn't hit the outside of the building. We didn't even do an inspection to see, are there any conducive conditions around where these roaches could be living. And so that was my fault. That was my bad. I should have. We told them everything to do. They've done everything, and boom, another roach. Obviously, we didn't do our part to treat that outside area of that apartment complex, so we screwed up. So now I got to go back and we got to do another inspection on the outside of the building to see where they're coming from. With that being said, do a proper inspection. Take the extra 5, 10, 15 minutes, pop those up, spray inside there, because you are going to do wonders on a property and you are going to eliminate callbacks. Ever since I did that on that property, nothing, gone, 0. So it was actually really awesome to be able to do that. Now, a lot of people skip those water boxes. They skip over those areas because they're covered, they're in the ground, and they think bugs can't live in there maybe. I'm not sure. But do your due diligence, spray those areas. Take a flathead screwdriver, pop them up. Super easy to, lift off with a flathead screwdriver, and then just throw it back on after you're done spraying. It's super easy, but you create, a customer that loves you, and you are preventing callbacks, which is huge. So now the products, I already told you on the outdoor ones, I use a main 3. There is another one that you can use, and actually I've never done this, but this might be a good one if you have a high infestation or a high problem area that you keep spraying, but there's still roaches there, and you can use this on sewer lids as well, it's dry on. So the dry on dust, you can actually dust on the top of the lid. Now you have to read the label on this. Do not take me as law because I'm not the label. But dry on is really good. Apparently you can actually dust around the lid and set it back on, and then anything that's coming out is going to get that dry on dust on them and kill them. So that is one trick I've read. I have actually not had to do that yet. So we'll see if that ever comes up. So if there's ever an issue if it gets that bad, I will do it. But so far, I've never had to do it. So, but keep that trick in mind. But my go-tos are Niband, Essentia, and Bifin. I love to open up those lids and just spray the inside with Essentia and Bifin, and then I'll even sprinkle some Niband on top or around the outside of it. So if they ever do come out or they're going back in, they're going to eat that, they're going to die, and it's just going to keep killing them because they're not going to eat up all the bait. So, sorry about that, guys. Now, the next one is, we have a few classifications I'll go over real quick. Just to make it simple with customers, we say outdoor roaches or indoor roaches. Outdoor roaches, obviously, are the big ones, Turkestan, American, Oriental. Those roaches are going to be a lot easier to get rid of if you're doing the proper treatment and if you're hitting the proper areas. Now, we have indoor roaches. Indoor roaches would be brown-banded roaches, which I'm going to throw something out there. I have yet to see a brown-banded roach in California, especially in the Sacramento area and the outskirts. I've done hundreds and hundreds of cockroach treatments. I've yet to see one. Now, everyone says that they're very popular, that they're out here, especially in Hispanic homes. I hate to break it to you guys, I have yet to see one. So I've seen a few German roaches, adolescents, that look like brown-banded roaches, but they're actually not. So just be aware if you're out in Sacramento and you're listening to this. There's probably not brown-banded roaches, but German roaches are thriving, especially in apartments, condos, multifamily homes. Those are terrible out here. And the reason I'm saying that is because we actually treat for them, and quite a bit and quite often. So there was an episode a few back where me and Anthony talk about the differences between treatment methods. And I do agree with him that there are certain treatment methods that we can and can't do in certain situations. So if you're the type of tech that goes in and you just spray the apartment with Alpine WSG, this magical, mystical chemical that kills everything, you're wrong, and you're going to create more problems. That is not how you treat for indoor roaches, German roaches specifically. Even if your Alpine rep tells you this, do not listen to him. He does not know. He's trying to sell you a product. He is actually not a technician. The scientists that are doing studies and tests are in controlled environments, which absolutely does not help with the situation. So when you're in a controlled environment, of course the roaches are going to die. Of course they're going to come in contact with the product. Of course it will kill them. But when you're in real life, you can't just go in and spray and pray. You can't do that. You got to stop doing that if you are doing that, and you need to take pride in your job because, one, you're going to save that apartment complex, and they're always going to stay with you. And two, you're going to save your job because they're not going to fire you for doing a shitty job. So just be prepared for that. So I'm going to talk about two different treatment methods that we personally do here that works and has proven to work. First treatment that we do, and we'll call it the old school treatment, is with it's an Actisol machine, or it's the B&G fogger. Either one will work just fine, but we do a mixture of 3 different products. I'm giving you guys my secrets here, so use them wisely and use them well. The 3 products that we put in is ULDBP 100. It used to be UL 100, but that actually got banned because an old man died in a house. I'm assuming one of the technicians told them that they could go back in after he fogged, and the old man died. Now, there were obviously conditions that this old man had, but the point of the matter is he died inside the house after they fogged. And this is another thing. If you're going to fog 4 hours, that's our thing. 4 hour minimum. We do not let anybody go back in within that time frame. If they go back in, which I've had a family go back in, I was furious. But you know what? That's their choice. They wanted to go back in afterwards. But we do a 4 hour minimum. If there's any health problems, it's 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours. So ULD BP 100, Teco Pro. Teco Pro is an IGR. And then we do a Zemprox. So the Zemprox is just an added boost for the ULD BP 100. So all those three products go in, mixed together. They're all oil-based products so that you can put them in a fogger and it's going to fog. If you're going to add in any water products, you're probably going to clog the machine or create issues. Do not do it. I do not suggest it. We tried it. We screwed the machine up. We had to send it in. They had to fix it. They had to do everything. It was bad. So do not think that you can put in Alpine and everything like that with mixtures of water. Remember, guys, oil and water do not mix well. That's why you have to have agitators and different things because they don't mix. So keep that in mind. So we use the ULD BP 100 Teco Zemprox. Now, when you go in, hit the cracks and crevices, hit the motors of the refrigerator. You're doing the oven, the microwave, not inside the microwave, but the motor of the microwave. And you will be amazed at what this stuff does. I mean, it'll kill them instantly. It's intense. And it just flushes them out like crazy. You're going to have to find your mixture. I'm not going to give you ours. Find your mix rate. We found a really good one that works very, very well. But obviously make up your own. Play with it. See what works. Read the label. Make sure you're doing it correctly. But we hit the cracks and crevices. And this stuff just wipes roaches out. Now, the problem with it is that it's just like a fogger. So a little bomb, a roach bomb. If you are not doing it correctly, you could be pushing roaches to apartment to apartment to apartment. So we have created, and I'll give the credit to Anthony. Anthony has created a second treatment. A second treatment, which actually came from, I'm going to plug them, NPMA. They do a Pest World. If you do not go to Pest World, I do suggest it. Your knowledge on how to treat and what to change is going to jump greatly. But he got this method from Pest World, and what you're doing is you're essentially doing the same thing as the Actisol machine, other than you're not having to wear all the masks and the gear, and you're not getting fog everywhere and all of your clothes and chemical. So we like to say it's a little bit safer treatment for us. Going into a house because we are using different products. The products are more in line with keeping the technicians safe. The same results. We've had great results with both. The Actisol machine, I would say the results are faster, and you are in and out of a house a lot faster. Now, I'd say do it on a single family home. Do not do it on multifamily units. Don't do that. If you're doing that, you're just going to push them, and if you are going to do that, you have to make sure you're treating the one above and all around that main apartment so they don't spread. So the second treatment, let me back up. So the Actisol treatment, we also are spraying Alpine, and I mix in Teco. So they're getting a double dose of Teco Pro, the IGR, which is controlling their growth. The reason why I do that is because I don't know if I'm going to fog all those areas where they're going to be. And if they happen to be in a baseboard or an outlet or anything like that, at least I know if they're coming out of there, they're going to hit my product and there's going to have an IGR on it, and they're not going to be able to reproduce. So with the Alpine, we're hitting all the cupboards, behind the refrigerator, behind the oven. We are hitting the baseboards, essentially everywhere that you can think of that roaches are going to be. We also apply dry on, the dust. So we are taking off all the plates on all the electrical outlets, and we are dusting those. The reason why we're doing that is those are notorious places for roaches to hide and live. They get warmed up, especially when you plug something in. So it creates a perfect environment for them. If it's a high infestation in an apartment or in a house, more than likely you're going to find them in every single one. So those are crucial to dust, whether you want to or not. If they get into the wall, they have to come out somewhere. Boom, dust. So dust is a great one to use, and it's a must. Now, if you use the Actisol machine, you are not going to bait. The reason being, you can't bait. The reason being is because there's scents in the products. So when you are fogging, it does smell. There is a scent with it. So if you are going to spray everything down and fog everything with a bait and then bait, or bait before and then fog everything, you're essentially covering that bait in a chemical, and the roaches aren't even going to go to it. So unfortunately, with that treatment, you cannot use bait whatsoever. And I do not suggest using glue boards. The only reason why not to is because you get a lot of movement. So you're not getting a good feel or good idea of how many roaches are actually getting trapped on a glue board, because they're just getting forced out of every, crack and crevice. So you can't really tell. But we do 3 treatments of that minimum, sometimes up to 5 or more. But they have to prepare the house. Obviously, there's a lot more prep involved. They have to cover a lot of things, because you are using a fog. And it's not only, that fog's not only going to sit in a crack and crevice, it does get out of that crack and crevice, and it does get airborne. So you do have to be prepared for that. And so they do have to do the proper steps. Now, we have on our website a prep sheet for them for that treatment. We've just generalized the prep sheet, so we actually tell them the same for both treatments. But that's what we do with the fogger on the inside. So remember, we have those 3 products that we put inside the fogger. We do fog the cracks and crevices wherever they may be. We dust all the outlets, and then we also spray the baseboards, cupboards, everywhere, following the label. So when I say everywhere, we're not hitting countertops, we're not spraying countertops or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Now, the second treatment is a lot more work. You're going to spend a lot more time at houses, but the results are the same, and if not better. And I'll explain why if the technician's doing the proper treatment. The good thing about the Actisol machine is it fogs. So you can fog everywhere. You don't have to take out drawers and certain things like that. You can just fog inside them. It's going to fill up the entire cupboard. You don't have to worry about it. It's confined space. Or if you're hitting a crack or crevice, you just hold that nozzle down inside that crack and crevice, and it fills up that entire crack or crevice. Same with a hole in a wall. You just put that in, you fog it, and it fills up that entire wall. So you have to keep that in mind with the fogger, which makes it a lot easier. With the other treatment, we use a lot of glue boards because we're not actually fogging anything. So we are forcing roaches out of their hiding spots in homes, but the glue boards are to catch a lot of the ones. So we put out a ton of glue boards. We use a lot of bait. We're pulling out we're pretty much tearing the kitchen apart almost. I'm pulling out all of the drawers, everything. We're baiting behind them. We're spraying. We're treating. We're fogging with Precor 2625. We're also using PT 565, which kills instantly and flushes them out of places. So you do have to find the right nozzles for those. Ask your distributor for them. They'll have them. They'll give them to you probably for free. But you're going to want to use those ones. We jump between Alpine WSG and Tempered. And the reason is they are different chemical makeups, so that we are never getting the same type of chemical with the roach. So it's always confused. So it can't build up an immunity. Excuse me. The same thing, dry on, we're hitting all of the electrical outlets or anywhere else that we can't necessarily fog or treat with this other, with any of the aerosol cans or anything like that. So the Precor and the PT 565 are aerosol cans, just so you guys know. So that's why I say you can get nozzles, and that's where you can actually focus in certain areas. But you're going to want to make sure that you use all of those. So baits, we use Advion cockroach gel. That one I don't like as much because the general public can get their hands on it, and it's very popular with the general public. So they can buy it on Walmart, Amazon, doesn't matter. And there's no restrictions. So we have a customer who got it, bought it, used it, for years, and now they're like, well, they eat it and they don't die. Well, of course they don't, or they won't eat it at all because they've been eating it for the past 2 years. So Alpine's come out with a good one. They have stage 1, stage 2. I think that's what it's called. And you can mix up the bait. So it's still going to kill the roach. It's just a different flavor. So the roach actually doesn't get sick of what they're eating. So we'll do that on high infested areas. Majority of the time, if we're going to the house for the first time, we don't need to use the stage 1 or stage 2 because we're not running into them all the time and they're not building up a resistance to it. So that's the second treatment. You're still going to want to go through the entire home. Obviously, if you haven't done cockroach treatments before in the past, or you're just new to them, do your due diligence. Make sure that you're looking everywhere in that house, asking all the questions, where they're seeing them, where they are, because roaches will go into closets, guys. I've seen them up in the bars where you hang your clothes. They'll be everywhere. They're not just they're not just in kitchens or just in bathrooms. They will go everywhere. They will eat whatever they need to eat to survive in other areas of the house. Behind picture frames, you're going to want to pull down pictures. You're going to want to move beds, dressers, drawers. You're going to want to treat inside closets. You're going to want to go everywhere to cover that you've gotten everywhere that the roach could go. Because if you don't treat properly and you don't do everything, you're going to have roaches come back because you're not going to be able to kill them all. And so eventually the population is going to rebound. The other thing is I advise customers not to use bug bombs because all that does is it pushes them into the wall and it makes it harder for us to treat. But that's your call if you want your customer to do that or not. I say no. So that is how you do some treatments for roaches, guys. I hope this helped you out. I know I didn't go step by step perfectly on how you do it and what you need to do, but I gave you a general idea of roach treatments, and hopefully it helps. There's a whole, line of products. I'm going to hit them one more time. Outdoor products for outdoor roaches. We use Niban, which is a dry bait, Sentry IC3, and Bifen IT. Indoors, we use Alpine WSG, Precor 2625, PT 565. Those both are aerosol cans. We use a ton of glue boards, any kind you want, doesn't really matter. Tempered, and then dry on as well. So you're going to want to move from those products, and then we use obviously some gel bait. You can choose what kind you want. I don't think there's any good or bad. To be honest with you, it just needs to be able to be eaten by a cockroach. So, and one quick tip on that, do not make a line with the cockroach bait. You want to actually do dots. So if you do dots of cockroach bait, you're going to get better results than if you just do this giant line or a big old cluster of it. You want to do little dots in a lot of different areas, and you're going to want to get down and dirty. You're going to get underneath sinks. You're going to want to get into drawers. You want to get into those areas because that's where they're hiding, and they're going to go for the closest food source. So make sure that you're placing that as close to them as possible. And if you guys have any questions, remember, email us, go to our website, check us out. We're more than happy to help you with any other tips and tricks on how to take care of roaches. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, this is Anthony, and here's a quick reminder. We want to hear from you, whether you're a technician, owner, or operator. We want to hear your stories, whether it's a horror story on the field, a funny story with the client, or just something straight up crazy or weird you've seen. And how can you do this, you ask? Well, our email is dnapestpodcast@gmail.com. That's DANDA pestpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us at Twitter and direct message us there at DNA Pest Podcast. That is D, the letter N, A, Pest Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Or you can reach out directly through our website at dnapodcast.com. That's DANDA podcast.com. We want to hear from you, so let's hear it.